Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of In Conversation With, where we interview stalwarts from the A&M media and PR industry. Our guest for today is Nikhil Dey, who is the Vice Chairman at Weber Shandwick. It is really amazing to have you with us today, Nikhil.
Pleasure is mine, Rahul. Nice to get to know you as well.
We're discussing one of the most amazing and important topic, especially in such times, mental wellness, which affects life of almost everyone at some or the other point. Let's just start understanding what mental wellness is.
Sure. I think my journey of exploration on this topic began actually at one of the biggest get-togethers of the PR industry, which is Praxis. So last year I had gone to Praxis in Goa, and we had set up something on the sidelines there called the Creative Sandbox. And in the hall next to us, there was a session by a leading voice in mental wellness talking about hashtag unmute yourself, right? I hadn't even planned to attend it. It was happening. I walked into the room and my mind was opened to a topic that I had never really thought of in the professional context. But I left that session thinking about the fact that as a practitioner, I had to do something to carry this message forward. I had to unmute myself. That was what the speaker said, right? He said, his name is Barik from hospital. He said, unmute yourself. Start by talking about mental wellness, mental health. Acknowledge what you're going through. And that's all I have taken from that session and practiced. So to answer your question very simply, I put up a very brave front in the initial days of lockdown. Sab theek hai, I'm good, I'm fine, we're doing good. But actually I wasn't. And I didn't realize I wasn't till I had a session with my coach. In that session, I realized the fear I was feeling. Fear of so many things. Fear of just physical wellness, nothing to do with the mental part, but that was putting mental pressure, but also deep fear about my son's future. My son, I was telling you, is about to head off to America for studies. And I was thinking, how can he go? How can I let him go? All sorts of crazy fears were going on in my head, but I was bottling it all up. The minute I let that come out of my mouth, when I said it, itself was the beginning of dealing with this problem. Acceptance that, yes, I'm not okay, and it's okay not to be okay. So I think as simple as that, but as honest as that with myself to say that it begins with me. And for the PR profession, why I think this is important, because it's one of the top 10 most stressful jobs in the world. In normal times. Imagine what the fraternity is going through right now. So with that level of general fear added to a high stress profession, obviously people are going to be in need of an outlet. And we must accept that, acknowledge that, encourage that, give them the tools, give them the language, give them the permission that it's okay to admit that, hey, I need a little bit of help sometimes.
Let's talk a little bit about young PR agencies, right? On one hand, the pressure on costs have increased. On the other hand, the work pressure is immense, of course, because of such sudden total dependency on the shoulders of PR firms, right? So do you have any suggestions for our friends working in these agencies?
Yeah, so the only thing I would say is I don't think it's to do with young or mature or it's about everybody in this industry is going through their own journey. So I think the first point I would like to make is that when we in crisis management terms talk about the phases that people go through when a crisis hits, right? The first phase is denial. This can't be happening, right? Then comes a host of other phases, including anger, right? Saying, how could this is not fair, this is, and you go through a bunch of these negative, so-called unproductive phases, and then you come to a phase of acceptance. I think many of us in the industry have got to that phase of acceptance, and we are now trying to work through saying what next, what's the way forward, how do we forward. And that is a very exciting phase, actually, if you ask me, because I entered this profession in the early 90s when PR was in its formative stage in India. There was no rule book, there was no formula, and it was a phase of creativity and creation. We were at the pioneering stages of crafting the trade craft of public relations, and that was awesome. And then we got into a mature phase saying, okay, now there's a formula, there is a way things work, there is a body of knowledge we have created. I think what the COVID situation has done for us is it has brought us back to the pioneering creative days. There is no formula. Nobody knows. In fact, the only honest answer that I keep giving people is I genuinely don't know. But you know what? I'm so excited to find out, and I'm going to find out for you. Right. And then I go on a journey of discovery. And then I come back with ideas. And then I come back with the pilot. And then I show what works, what doesn't work. So I think that's the way to look at it. One is to say, oh God, I'm so tired. I'm finished. I'm dead. Screen fatigue. I can't do this. There's so much pressure. It's unrealistic. Nobody has a clue. I don't get clear briefs. Those are all true things. And that could be a cause of distress. Or it could be, you know what? When was the last time we got a chance to go in and create something brand new? To redefine, to push the boundaries of what this profession can do. And people are looking for answers and solutions. And we have to be brave enough to explore that world, to find out and offer those new solutions. So I would say that that energy and how to harness that energy is really what I believe every agency needs to look at doing right now. It's easy to say, very difficult to do. Yeah.
Easy to say, difficult to do, but how has work from home or operating remotely affected productivity, if at all? And let's talk about health risks associated with this forced method of working.
Yeah, so I think, again, different companies have had different levels of technology adoption, right? So, for example, we were on Teams and were using Teams aggressively globally as a platform, even when we were in office, right? So the fact that we used to have meetings like this was very normal for us. Obviously, now it's only meetings like this. But I think, therefore, the learning curve was less steep for an agency like us. And we also went into work from home before the lockdown was officially mandated. So we also had, I think, the benefit of those first 10 days before the others were pressured into it. So I think the productivity is definitely going to take a toll, not because of people working less. I think just because of lack of clarity, right? So there's fast and furious effort to show results, to show that I'm working. People are scared, right? Agencies are scared of losing clients. People are scared of losing jobs. So there is that fear that I think dampens productivity. And the key, therefore, is back to mental wellness, mental health. Fear is a very poor author of creative work, right? Because when you are operating from that fight or flight mode, you are just doing enough to survive. You're not going to help a brand or company thrive. So removing some of that fear is the key, I think, to finding creativity, productivity, more collaboration and teamwork, less me, more we. How can we find our way together? In fact, that's a really important point I want to bring to your attention. If there was one big learning that I can take away from the Creative Sandbox, which I've been hosting for the last weeks, is that collaboration is at an all-time high, right? Collaboration with what I call frenemies, right? Even with competitors, collaboration with strange bedfellows, people you would never think of collaborating with. I'll give you multiple examples. The Creative Sandbox itself is a perfect small example of how the comms industry, week after week, has come together on a screen like this, sharing freely of their experiences, telling me and me telling them what's working, what's not working, and exchanging that information with each other, and then passing it on. I'm not hoarding that information. I'm not saying that that's a competitive advantage. And you know why it's not? Because the industry in totality needs to move forward. This is when we win, when the entire PR industry moves forward, when people see the value in PR overall, then Weber will win, and along with it, everybody else will win. So it's not anymore about me saying how I can use something I have learned and hoard it. In fact, whatever I'm learning, I must share. So I'll give you another very, very tactical example. In the last 3 weeks, I've seen suddenly there's a lot of people asking for media training workshops, right? Media training is something that we do. And it's not necessarily only media training, it's spokespeople training. The insight here is more and more companies are realizing that they need to put out faces and voices that people trust. I trust people I know. I can't have only one spokesperson. I need 5 or 6 people who can tell the story authentically in a real way. So creating new modular, short 2-hour online media training sessions. And I called up all my friends in the industry and I asked them, what's their experience? They all shared with me. I'm sharing, and they're with competing agencies, right? We're all sharing information and learnings with each other. And together, I think, therefore, that a rising tide will lift all boats. The PRCAI, the Industry Association, we have a weekly call. We used to struggle to get a monthly quorum earlier. Now we have a weekly call where we all just get together, enjoy our company, but share knowledge, share learnings. So I think the journey from this radio channel that I talk about, right, WII-FM, what's in it for me, has to now tune into WII we, what's in it for we. So this is what I mean by collaborating and really thinking that should I share this? And the minute the old brain comes saying, Acha, but then will I be giving that intelligence to somebody else? Will I be helping them? I catch myself and I say, yes, I should help them. Because if the entire PR ecosystem grows, more and more clients see the value of it, all of us will benefit. So I'm very, very big on collaboration and sharing experience and knowledge at this point of time.
I'm adding another layer of doubt
Yes.
to what you just mentioned, right? So is this sudden need of new skills to make the distance economy work? And how do you acquire that, especially in India where people are very untrained in that area?
The new skills are literally only admitting to yourself that, boss, what I knew before may not be true anymore, right? So I think that's the first part. And I'm talking literally what I learned in the first month of lockdown is probably no longer relevant even. I have to keep rechecking. What I learned last week may not be relevant this week. The pace of change is so much, right? So my ability to ask the right questions, go in search of that knowledge, both locally as well as internationally, because each country or each community or each pocket is at a different stage. So you can get learnings from somebody else. Like an international colleague of mine was able to point to me that when lockdown was lifted in their country, one of the biggest learnings that they had of going back to work was not that only manage the workplace, but managing the home. Because how our RWA is managing my condo is different from the next one, which impacts my ability to go back to work. Never struck me. But when I was crafting employee communication, when I was crafting an employee engagement strategy for my clients, that tiny bit of information, seemingly just one nugget, was a gold mine. Because the ability to therefore bring that into the conversation and say, hey, this is a learning from another country. And like that. So just think of the right questions to ask. Are we solving the right problems? There's a lot of furious effort to show that kuch ho raha hai. But what is it that you're really solving? And that's why I said briefs. Re-examining, what am I trying to do? What is it that I am trying to create is really important. And it's difficult because the answers are not going to come, but asking that right question. And that's what I would urge every team member to do. Examine why they're doing what they're doing. And then go out and revalidate, recheck any assumptions that you have before making a recommendation. There are lots of free tools also. There are a host of free opportunities to learn. So on collaboration, I talked, Rahul, I'm part of another group. I'm also a life and leadership coach, right, on the weekends. So I volunteer with this association called Coaches for You, CFY. We are about 120 of us offering free pro bono coaching for anybody who needs it. Now, there are big agencies that may have employee assistance programs and can offer that in a formal, structured way to their teams. Maybe some of the younger, smaller agencies don't have that. So what I've is tied up with PRCAI, tied up Reputation Today, and we're promoting the fact that if you feel the need to have coaching, here's a free resource for you. And like that, if you go onto LinkedIn or if you go onto any other platform, even in search of free resources, you'll find them. The problem is people say time nahi hai. I'm so busy, right? Now, I have to take that 1 hour on a Sunday, even if it's my time, to calm my mind, to find my answers, to find my peace. Only then can I bring my creative best to the job. Otherwise, I will be bringing my stressed self to the job. So while I may be always on, I may be functioning, to your point about productivity, at a very much lower level than optimum. But taking that pause, finding the way to recharge, to plug into an energy source that is your energy source. Like for me, it could be coaching. For you, it could be meditation, could be exercise. Different people have different things. But creating some kind of a routine, a ritual, a daily way in which, literally, that's it. Think of ourselves as a phone, right? Every day you need charging. When the phone is fully charged, it does wonderful things. When the battery is low, you know what happens. We are running on empty a lot of the time. We are not taking the time to recharge our battery. And that is a very simple way of looking at the mental wellness that I'm evangelizing. Find the pause, find your route to recharge yourself. What is your energy source? In your case, Rahul, it may be your daughter, right? Spending that time playing with her may give you enough energy to listen to some more yarn like this from somebody in an interview, right? Because it takes energy to hold that space. I think that's the key to also, I believe, sometimes just be quiet with yourself. Yeah, so all of those are small examples of ways in which you can recharge, re-energize, and stay in a mentally strong place.
That's very well articulated, Nikhil. Um, and I'm moving towards the last bit of my interview session.
Yes, Rahul.
And I asked this question to Atul Sharma as well, and I'm going to ask this to you too. And the question is about social media and the role it is playing now in our lives, and how important it is for businesses of all sizes to be extremely alert on social platforms, and fully adapt to a digital transformation that is happening for good, of course.
Yes, absolutely. So I think right now the acceleration of digital adoption has been forced, right? And we've seen when the demonetization happened, we saw the adoption in digital payments. So external situational factors have brought us to the point where there is no other route, right? This is the way forward. And it seems to be for the foreseeable future. So I think the key over here is to not try and take what was in the traditional and find a way to bring it alive in the digital, but try and find a way to genuinely embrace this new digital wave, because you can't modify something and make it truly flower and fly in this new environment. So if you like I think one or two of the things that haven't changed: relationships still matter. We are a social race. We want to engage, we want to travel, we want to meet, right? Before you and I began today's conversation, I want to connect with you as a person, right? So before we turn on the camera, so to speak, in the pre-interview, human to human, I want to connect with you. That's human nature. And as long as we are mindful and cognizant of that, I think we will embrace and find interesting ways to use technology to keep those relationships alive, to keep those experiences going, because we are in search of that. But if we are going to start thinking too much in terms of, okay, Nikhil, I have only 4 more minutes with you, so I had blocked this much time, therefore I can't afford to have that 4-minute pre-chat with you because I'm cut to cut. In that effort for extra productivity, we will lose the essence of being human. And that is where I think public relations again comes, because what is it? Look in the word public relations. It's about relationships with all publics, right? It's about finding a way to create that two-way dialogue, not the monologue. Everybody wants to be on a webinar. Everybody wants to talk. Nobody wants to listen anymore, right? We've got webinar fatigue, right? So then the next new thing will come, right? I see podcasts really spiking right now because we are tired of the screen fatigue. So now the ears are the new way to connect with the world. There will come a time when fatigue sets in there, and then we will find some new technology to play with. But what strings are all together? The need to connect, to belong, to be part of a tribe, to share. And that is what has driven the profession of public relations from time immemorial. And as long as we don't forget that human truth, we will then race ahead in digital adoption. We will find ways to creatively use it because we are focused on the human connect, and digital is only a medium to do that.
And great. Thank you so much, Nikhil, for enlightening us about mental wellness in so much detail, and appreciate it. And thanks again for joining us. And we'll see you next time.
My pleasure, Rahul. Thank you for inviting me and giving me a chance to talk about a topic that I'm very, very passionate about. Thank you.